Welcome to deagen TV. Today we have a very, very special broadcast, including our partners at Women in Cloud, Chaitra Vadulapalli, a good friend, and a leader who's changing the world. And we're going to be talking about AI Solutions 2030. The partnership with WIC and deagen is critical because we are working together to scale this incredible global accelerator to empower women-owned businesses across the world together with Microsoft. We cannot talk enough about the importance of this, and especially within the context of the global goals of the United Nations. The 17 broad global goals that were agreed to unanimously by the 193 member states of the United Nations. Innovation and technology is a critical component to achieving these goals. And there are many benefits of corporations and communities supporting ideas that help to advance these UN goals. Partnerships, goal number 17, global partnerships, is absolutely vital. It connects all of the 17 goals to be able to achieve the goals in this runway by 2030. Now, stepping back for a moment, when we began 2020, we were looking at a runway of 10 years to 2030, looking at that runway to achieving these broad global goals by 2030. And a few short months later, the entire planet, perhaps for the very first time in human history, was involved in and encumbered by a hidden enemy, that enemy being the pandemic virus that we're facing today. And so solutions today are more important than ever. Disparities have been highlighted in many ways throughout this pandemic, and a bright light is now shining on these disparities. And we now know even more about where they are, and perhaps even the more importance of addressing those as soon as possible as we lead into 2030. I'd like to ask Chaitra Vadulapalli to introduce herself, and then we'll go into introducing Rahul Thakar from Boeing as well. Chaitra, welcome.
Thank you, George. I'm so honored to be here. So excited, and congratulations for you to, pulling it off the 17 Days of Sustainability Summit. This is very exciting. Hello, everyone. I am Chaitra Vadulapalli. I wear two hats. I'm the president and co-founder of Women in Cloud, and also CMO and co-founder of Mela. I'm usually a change strategist, working as a tech innovator, and really love doing is community organizing efforts. During that journey as leading a company, I observed that women tech founders lack access to business networks, funding, and enterprise customers, and less than 1% of the cloud spending in the enterprise market was going to the cloud women founders. And Women in Cloud was born on the platform of focusing on creating $1 billion in economic access for women tech founders and entrepreneurs in the enterprise market in partnership with corporation and policymakers. And George, with the partnership with you, deagen, Microsoft, Boeing, and many other companies, we are able to really create a pathway for women entrepreneurs to be successful in the 21st century.
You know, Chaitra, it's such an incredible honor and privilege to be working alongside Women in Cloud with deagen, and of course with Microsoft. It's absolutely transformative. And, in terms of scale, global scale, it's absolutely critical. It's vital because no one organization can do it on their own. You'll hear folks, from the UN, from the EU, from the US government, from any entity, no matter what that entity is, it's still not able on its own to change the world. And these partnerships and the scale and the acceleration of that scale to ultimately achieve the global goals by 2030 is very important. And you're a key component of that, Chaitra, you and Women in Cloud. And we want to applaud you for your vision, for your leadership, and equally so for your ability to peer around the corners, to see around corners as you're watching these emerging trends. And sometimes headwinds, sometimes tailwinds that are affecting women-owned businesses and entrepreneurs literally across the planet.
Thank you, George.
And so, Chaitra, you're introducing another member of this discussion here today. Looking forward to hearing from Rahul Thakkar. Kindly introduce Rahul for our global audience today.
Absolutely. George, I met Rahul through the Boeing partnership through Cara South, and he is an Oscar award winner among us. And he's also one of the most innovative leader in the tech industry. So we would love to welcome Rahul Thakkar. And Rahul, I would love you to introduce about yourself so that we can do the right justice. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for bringing me here in this forum. Thanks, George. This is so cool. I mean, I'm humble again, and I'll say the word humbled several times during this session because I truly am. I work for Boeing. I'm the director of advanced services development as well as infrastructure transformation within the greater IT and digital analytics organization at Boeing. And of course, we know Boeing. It's an awesome 100-year-old company that makes iconic planes for public use and for the military. And of course, they do a lot more than that. But we know Boeing. I won't delve into the details. I have been very fortunate to have had 3 personal dreams. One was to help make movies, which landed me at DreamWorks. The other one was to help our service women and men, which landed me at a startup that served the government for almost a decade, over a decade, in fact. And then I wanted to build spaceships, and that has landed me at Boeing. And, of course, when the dream gets fulfilled, it gets fulfilled, but then we'll have the next one.
That is just what, and how appropriate that you were at DreamWorks, and it all kind of ties in together. We at deagen love the dreamers, the people who dream, who can dream big, and who can make then that happen, that dream come true, because it's about moving forward, especially, over the past several weeks. It has been striking to me personally and professionally with a lot of our interviews on deagen TV with global leaders and luminaries like yourself. The conversation there's been a thread, a common thread amongst these leaders, which is we need to move forward and to, in some ways, imagine new process through innovation, new ways to do things. We can't just build back. We need to build forward. I've heard that many, many times, and meaning, just because we've done something in the past doesn't mean we need to just get back to doing it the same way once, the world gets back up and running after or post, as they say, pandemic. So that sounds to me like what you're doing. You're not only dreaming, you're not only innovating, but you're making things happen. And you've seen it from various industry perspectives, which I think is also critically important. That cross-sector mind, the ability to think across sectors and to do what Chaitra does with such class and dignity, which is to look around the corner, to peer around the corner on behalf of these women-owned businesses that are trying to scale, and to help them with those critical insights as she's peering around that corner. And not many people can do that just because we're all so busy. But it takes a focus, and it takes the ability to dream to be able to bring that forward. So I think it's incredibly exciting. I'd like to ask, and maybe for both of you, what are some unique innovation challenges that you believe women in cloud face versus, for example, the general tech industry? And obviously focused to Chaitra, but I think, Rahul, you can certainly opine on that as well. Chaitra?
George, a great question, right? When we think about women driving innovation in the cloud industry and tech industry is very similar, because the tech industry is evolved more into the cloud industry right now. The challenges are the same. If you think about women not able to come in and drive contribution to the economic development, I think it kind of bothers me. Why can't we contribute to the society? And when there was an article that came out of the Boston Globe Consulting that when women and men can contribute to the society at the same level, we can actually impact the global GDP. And that's significant, right? It's a significant in trillions of dollars. But the notion that the women need to suffer and go through a painful process becoming a contributing member of the society is not acceptable. We want to create accessibility for them to actually impact. The kind of challenges that I am seeing right now is access to business networks, skilling, funding. Where there are big deals happening, that is where women are invited to participate in that conversation. A lack of role models, that is one thing that we are seeing is there's a tremendous need for having more role models in our society, which will allow us to really bring in the right kind of behaviors and experiences together to help women and young women to really take on leadership roles. A lack of leadership opportunities, that is something that corporations and society needs to look at. Can we have more women in the leadership opportunities? And the lack of equity around the compensation practices, that is something that needs to be, and then outright discrimination that's happening. So those are kind of the things, George, that we are seeing. But when you look at it holistically, there is just a lot of things to address. A little bit about yesterday, I watched Mulan, and this is the 21st century new movie that came out of Disney. In that movie, they talked about, right, that she had to break so many barriers, a lone warrior, to get to the place. And she didn't have really a team of other women who were working together for her to be successful. So even the movies are representing that you have to have so many barriers to be removed to really contribute to the society.
Those are incredible insights. It's startling when you look at data points. It jolts, your in many ways your soul and your being, when you think about how important these issues are. And even if you just look at it from a very practical standpoint, there are many studies, almost too many studies, face it, that cite the importance of, the gender equality piece across the planet. And it's also startling when you see, we had an amazing conversation with the World Bank and the work they're doing to empower women across the planet, especially entrepreneurs, and you see the data points. And Rahul, why do we need, we're talking about it and we understand it, but why do we need to involve women, especially in the tech innovation process, to advance not only the entities that they work for and with, but also to advance our society?
That's an interesting question. So let's ask the question just slightly differently. So why do we need to involve men in the tech innovation process to advance our society? If we replace the word women by the word men, it makes men really, really, really uncomfortable. So I would say that the fact that women are required alongside men to lead within the tech innovation process to advance our society is just that, a fact. It is necessary. It is not necessary for us to justify why we need to involve women in the tech innovation process. It is necessary. We cannot move forward at the pace that we are expected to move forward without the involvement of half of the planet's population. 50% of the planet is women. There you go. I mean, besides Upstairs, I have two daughters attending school right now, and I see them as two beautiful, brilliant minds who will leave a lasting mark in the legacy of the human race in their own way. Bring them in, make a self-conscious effort. Perspectives by women as entrepreneurs, leaders, creators in the cloud computing domain, in AI and machine learning domain is critical to balance this extensive bias that is led by, currently a fairly male-dominated environment. I want to give you an example. I was thinking about it while we were chatting. I went to school with a wonderful computer scientist named Rama. Today, she is an IBM fellow. She is a shining example of the quality of work her research has produced to help IBM and the idea of artificial intelligence, the idea of machine learning to move forward. So I would say this is a fact. We need to involve women in the tech innovation process on an equal, if not even a more significant basis.
And so, it's one of those things, Rahul, where you think about, changing the world. And I love how you changed the paradigm on that. It was remarkable to hear how you flipped that, how you, because I think it's important for context, right? The context is so important. So many initiatives, like our good friend Jamie Dimon, who was a leader and a catalyst on the 50-50 planet, which is what we're talking about here, with the UN. And so many other CEOs in the business world recognize this. Today, we heard that we have a new female CEO of one of the largest banks on the planet Earth, Citi. And she's coming in early next year. And you're starting to see, that leveling of the playing field, which is so critically important. And by the way, it's also good for business. Yeah, having a 50-50 planet will generate X trillion of dollars in global GDP. It's a fact. It's a proven fact with all of the data points that Chaitra alluded to at the beginning of this conversation. Chaitra, AI Solutions 2030. We're talking about solutions. Why 2030? Because that's the deadline. That's the point where all 193 member states said, we will track, we will monitor, and ultimately we hope to achieve these 17 broad goals by 2030. Can you tell us a little bit about AI Solutions 2030? And what were the results from the incredible design contest supported by Microsoft, presented with WIC and deagen, and ultimately what ideas were selected as the top 3 finalists, which obviously is incredibly exciting?
Absolutely, George. This one was one of my favorite, innovation program I have ever done in my career in the tech industry. And if you remember a year ago when we chatted about it, we were seeing a lot of conversation around that. There are a lot of language biases, a lot of issues with AI. But however, we said, let's pivot that into a tale of positive thinking and coming up with innovation, up with AI Solutions 2030 as a program, so we can inspire women to actually lead the innovation and really have it as a design contest. So at the summit, we talked about it and many women got excited. So through the whole 6 months of this design contest, working with the UN 17 goals and with the mission to employ technology, especially AI technology, to build a global blueprint for dignity, peace, and prosperity of the planet, we were able to bring in like 64 applications that came in the 6 months of this programming. Spectacular ideas, and they all leveraged the UN Knowledge Repository, and bringing the smartest of the smartest companies and women leading those innovation has been really awesome to see. So some of there were top 10 solutions that came out. We recognized them, and there was a interview process to find out what the top 3 is. So the top 3 that was highlighted were the mobile app to reduce food waste and carbon emission, and basically to transform our cities to be sustainable using cloud and AI computing to reduce the residential food waste and consequently the greenhouse gas emission, to support the goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. It was unbelievable. Just think about the concept. It was just powerful. The second one was the intelligent drone port is an infrastructure with swarm of autonomous drones and UAVs for community services with rapid response to any situation, safeguarding our communities, supporting the goal number 9 around industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Think about the solution is already there, especially when California is burning right now, and you could deploy these drones to get kind of the right assistance the communities need. And the third one was the anonymous interviewers, which was supporting the goal number 5, the gender equality, to offer gender neutral interviews to meet your candidates anonymously to ask spontaneous questions in real time. And these are some really amazing innovation, George, that came out of all the solution designs that were inputted into the contest. It was brilliant. Like each and every application was really awesome, but the top 3 were really that you could actually bring it to market tomorrow and get to a place where the community can use it.
It's absolutely remarkable to think about the breadth and depth of the submissions. We had an opportunity to review just the mind-blowing submissions that came in through the AI Solutions 2030 initiative with Women in Cloud, deagen, and of course, Microsoft. And I think we are at a point where it's so difficult, I mean, to really narrow it down to just a few, selections. It's so hard. Probably one of the hardest things. And I agree. I think it truly is, personally and professionally, one of the greatest and most rewarding, opportunities to be involved in literally changing the world, because these are change the world solutions. This isn't just we're creating a solution for the sake of the solution. It is for the sake of the world. And so, Chaitra, I want to again thank you and WIC and Women in Cloud for all that you've done, all that you do to change the world. We're honored at deagen to be working with you on that. And I'd like to ask, Rahul, you're with us today, and we're so honored to have you here. You were an executive sponsor at Boeing to implement this program. And I want to thank you and ask you, how did it go? Was it helpful in motivating your employees to get inspired? And ultimately, what are the cool innovations, if any, that you can talk about publicly here? Because we understand the sanctity of the innovation process within a company, and would welcome any insights that you have. It's just we have to ask. It's so exciting, right, Chaitra?
Absolutely. And George, like Rahul did such a fantastic job in driving the innovation, and I would love all these corporations to use that methodology and a framework to inspire innovation. Rahul, we would love to learn more. How was that for you?
How can I put it? Again, the word humbling comes to bear. It is, you can see around me that this is my man cave. This is where I work. This is where I think. And behind me and in front of me and on my side, I'm surrounded with whiteboards. the upper half of the whiteboards are a place where I think about things and kind of put my thoughts together, draw pictures, and build solutions for the company. And waist down, my kids have taken over that spot. You can see a bunch of sketches in the back on this side. So it's, for me, it's a similar process, right? To be able to participate as a male ally and learn from the best minds at Boeing has been for the last several weeks an incredible experience. I wanted to recognize Boeing's Kara South. She is a phenomenal leader, and I have had the opportunity to collaborate with her on several occasions. From the point of view of our daily work, she mentioned about her work with Women in Cloud, and some of the members of my team are very active in it. And she was looking for executive sponsorship for Boeing Women in Cloud team for this specific event, for the idea of leading innovation. It was a no-brainer. So did it help the employees to get inspired? Short answer, yes. It took a while. We are in COVID-19 times, right? Folks with families have an incredible responsibility, primarily towards their own families, while maintaining their daily workload, which seems to be increasing. So during these times, the way we worked it was, quite frankly, pick up the phone and call. Kara and her team, she had a phenomenal women-led team. Again, in Trish and Laura and several others, and myself, we all picked up the phone and called women leaders that we know within our respective organizations, not just emails, okay, not just sending out mass emails, but literally picking up the phone and calling them, saying, please, this is a fantastic event. Let's give it a shot. And it was very interesting. At least every single person I spoke with has had a contribution in some of those 60 ideas that were placed in the competition. In fact, one of the finalists is also someone I deeply respect and know. Several of the finalists, in fact. And so, it did help inspire the team. We were expecting very few ideas. Yeah, maybe 4 or 5, that would be perfect. We got 40 plus. I don't remember how many, but it was more than 40. How cool is that? How awesome is that? So is there a specific idea that I like? I'll talk probably about the cool innovations in this particular venue. And this is the intelligent drone port, right? It's aligning with the United States Nations goal number 9. It's industry, innovation, and infrastructure. The thing I loved about it, it was a pragmatic approach. It was practical. It can be done. It can be implemented. It doesn't require hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment. And it is, of course, in one of my personal favorite aspects of aviation, which is unmanned flight. I have worked prior to my current role. I was a director in one of the organizations in autonomous systems within Boeing, and it was a wonderful experience watching those unmanned systems fly, and folks control it, and it goes beyond the line of sight, and it just does its thing, and it ends up saving lives. At the end of the day, it ends up saving lives. This particular approach, with the 4 members of the team, 2 of them were women leaders, and then 2 of the men who supported the innovators in designing this system. Again, the pragmatic approach and the fact that it serves an immediate problem, like you mentioned earlier, in disaster management and disaster recovery, in supplying things that folks need, and it's right there. It gets charged on its own. It hangs up, it hangs itself up on a hook, and we'll probably be happy to share these someday. And it was brilliant. I'm being a geek myself, I love to hear practical solutions to real problems, and that's what inspired me.
Rahul, being able to hear from you directly, and your inspiration is obviously contagious. I'm at a lot. I'm not often at a loss for words, but I think the way you just described internally the process and your not only your vision but also your perspective and your insights is truly just incredibly remarkable. And I may be speaking. I know I'm speaking for Chaitra now, but we're both. When we started this AI Solutions 2030, process and the ideation around it, we thought it was going to be remarkable, and we thought maybe it would be transformational. But I can let our global audience today be rest assured that it is absolutely transformational. Wouldn't you agree, Chaitra?
Absolutely.
So Chaitra, I'm sorry, I wanted to say one thing, George, which is, I personally feel I haven't done anything, right? It's the team.
Yeah.
Every single person in that team did so much work. I am merely a representative of that group within Boeing, or Boeing Women in Cloud. I am merely a representative, having them, kind of notionally around me, supporting me to be here. So I really feel like they are the ones who truly deserve, and the participants who gave the idea. And of course, Boeing gives amazing opportunities for folks to innovate. Their innovation menu is out of this world. I have so much respect for it.
And
so back to you, Chaitra.
And that's remarkable as well, that you would take a moment to spread the accolades across the entire team. I think innovation takes leadership. I think it takes space, the ability for any entity, individual to have the space, the room to allow for these ideas to come forward. I love your whiteboards. I think it's awesome. And you're also having your kids innovate, which at a very early age, which is, that's the future, right? So let's not forget that. I think it's awesome. And we're at the point in this discussion, it's a very exciting point, where I'd like to ask our incredible friend and colleague, Chaitra Dulapalli. Chaitra, do we have a winner for the AI Solutions 2030?
We do. We do. George, this is like, can you believe an idea to implementation to finding the winner in the AI Solutions 2030 design contest? It's breakthrough. Each and every individual have done a fantastic job, and I want to congratulate all of them for putting the effort, because the process was to think about new innovative ideas. But the one who's going to win the 2020 AI Solutions 2030 challenge is the mobile app to reduce food waste and carbon emission. So let's give a big round of applause for them. So excited.
Bravo.
Rahul, your team has done a fantastic job in making this possible. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to the team. Congratulations.
Congratulations to the team.
Fantastic.
I'm just so excited for you guys. I mean, those listening in, the winners, the participants, the finalists, the semi-finalists, the folks who have given these ideas. It is so neat that they received this opportunity, they participated in it, and look at that, they won, yes. I'm sorry, I'm so happy.
Josh, you get to give the awards to these people. So exciting.
So exciting. And for our listeners across the planet, when they watch this programming, I think it's beyond inspiring. And if there's one thing we can all learn from this, beyond the actual innovation that we will award and highlight and spread the word about, is that it really can be one individual that starts changing the world. No matter where you are, no matter where you're watching this program, I think we want to get the message across that The global goals are critical. Spread awareness on the global goals. Those 17 global goals agreed upon, important to note, unanimously by all 193 member states. Non-political. It's about no hunger, no poverty, gender equality, global partnerships, a better, cleaner world. I mean, access to clean water, access to energy. These are important goals, and I'm saying that, and it's not a light recommendation, but for all of our listeners, please visit deagen Global and, of course, womenincloud.org to be able to spread the word, see what we do, see how we're scaling, and, of course, our colleagues at Boeing, who, my gosh, the inspiration and innovation coming out of that company is remarkable. And, of course, we are presented globally by Microsoft. Microsoft is a company that not only talks the talk, but walks the walk. Carbon neutral and negative initiatives, incredible, changing the world, supporting women entrepreneurs, changing the world with AI, cloud, and so much more. It's absolutely incredible to think that we're working together with deagen, Women in Cloud, and Microsoft, and of course, companies like Boeing to be able to change the world. But as an individual or entity or any leader, anyone watching, whether you're in your home, which most people are, or out working somewhere, please note it's important and you can change the world. You can spread the word on the global goals. Globalgoals.org is a place where you can find out more as well about the global goals. And we're doing this to make sure that, you know, all the goals are accomplished in order to drive inclusion of people and ideas. Chaitra Vadulapalli, thank you so very much. You inspire all of us each and every day. Rahul Thakkar at Boeing, global leader and luminary. You are changing the entire planet, Rahul, and we are grateful for that. And we're so excited to have announced the winner from Boeing today on this program. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.